Hey everyone, welcome back to the walkthrough. We're on quiz 3.4. So a lot of directions to this. It's a murder mystery quiz, and we're eventually going to write some code that outputs a message to the console based on some stuff. One thing that this quiz does not have, which other quizzes had, was a little bit more of this information up here written into the code. I've also made the code larger compared to the previous videos, so I don't know, we'll see. Maybe we'll go back and re-upload those other ones, or change these ones after the fact. Not really sure. Kind of just winging it at this point. But I'm going to copy these, and I'm going to put them inside of our multi-line comment down here. And all this is going to do is just give us a nice quick reference for some of these things, because it's going to be annoying to scroll back up and down each time. Anything inside of comments, as you previously learned, is not going to be like affecting the code as it runs. It's just going to give us a nice thing to look at. And then somebody did it in the something with the something, or somewhere with something. So let's concatenate the string. Couldn't hurt to do that first. So it's if it's solved, we'll come down here to the console.log message, and we're going to be console.logging something. We'll put a plus sign here just to make it nice and easy to follow. Plus whatever this is, plus whatever that is, plus, and we need a string to end that, plus there. Okay, and so this one should be the suspect. So the suspect did it in the, some room, which is our variable room, and then with the weapon. And we'll need to make sure that we add in the quotes around this exclamation point. Although some of these don't really care exactly what you output, provided that the code works well, but it never hurts to make it as specific as possible. So the first thing that we're going to check is the rooms. We want to check to see if the room is equal to something, and based on that, do the rest of the code. So we'll say if the room is equal to, then we need to think about the 4 different rooms that there are. So we could say ballroom. So we'll say if the room is equal to the ballroom, then we're going to do something. And the first thing that we're going to do, if we scroll back up here, is we're going to set the value of the weapon based on the room. So if we're in the ballroom, we look at the ballroom, and we notice that the ballroom has poison in it. So the weapon is going to therefore be set to poison. At this point, we need to do a little bit more organizing of our thoughts. We're going to set the value of solved to true if the room matches the suspect's room. So at this point, we're going to need to figure out the suspect's room, determine if that matches the room, but that's kind of going to be done by the way that we organize our code. Because we're already in the room, ballroom at this point, we basically just need to check to see if the suspect is equal to whatever the suspect in the ballroom at that time was. So if we look down here, we see the ballroom had Mr. Kolohoff in it. So what we want is we want to check to see, sorry, that's opening the console. We want to check to see if Mr. Kolohoff is the suspect. So at this point, we're going to check if suspect is equal to Mr. Kolohoff. And if it is, we know that the mystery has been solved because the appropriate people and the appropriate weapons are all in the same place. So cool. So ballroom here should throw up some flags because ballroom is not a variable. So we're going to make sure that that is a string. So if the room is equal to the ballroom, we'll set the weapon to poison. If the suspect is equal to Mr. Kolohoff, then solved is equal to true. And we're going to follow that basic same pattern. We're going to say if the room is equal to the next room, which I'm just going to go up from here. So ballroom, next one's going to be the billiards room. I'm going to copy and paste it just so I don't spell like billiards room or billards room or something like that. Paste that in there. If we're in the billiards room, then we know that the pool stick, okay, so the pool stick, probably just put pool stick in quotes. So we'll say weapon, you can do it, weapon is equal to, and here we're making an assignment. So we're making a comparison here and then an assignment here. So if the room is equal to the billiards room, we assign weapon to be the pool stick. If the suspect is then equal to whoever was in the billiards room, which if we consult here, we see it was Mrs. Spar. So we'll put Mrs. Spar down here as the suspect to compare. If Mrs. Spar is the suspect, then solved is equal to true. Now the next one is going to be the next room in the list. So we'll say room triple equals, and it's going to be the gallery. So we'll say if room equals gallery. If the room is equal to the gallery, we need to find out whatever the weapon in the gallery is, which is going to be the trophy. So in this case, when the room is equal to the gallery, we're going to assign the weapon to be equal to the trophy. Once that's been done, we're going to check to see if the suspect that we have is equal to whoever was in the gallery at the time, which is going to be Miss Van Cleve. So Miss Van Cleve is going to be checked as our suspect. If that's the case, we know we have solved the murder as well. At this point, we got a couple things that are going to happen implicitly. If the room is not the ballroom, and the room is not the billiards room, and the room is not the gallery, then we know by definition that the room is the dining room. Let's just make sure we did that right. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a comment right here. And this comment is going to be nothing except just helping us remember dining room is room for else statement. This doesn't do anything. It's just a comment. It's not going to change the code, but it will help us identify that, okay, if we've gotten to this portion, it's almost as though we checked to see if the room was equal to dining room. So since the room is equal to the dining room, we're going to need to check to see which weapon was in the dining room, which is the knife. So we grab the knife, come down, we're going to assign the weapon to be equal to the knife. If the weapon's equal to the knife, that's not really the right way to say it though, right? It's if the dining room is our room. We need to figure out who was in there. So the dining room is where Mr. Parks was. So our next statement is going to be an if statement where we check to see if the suspect is equal to Mr. Parks. At which point we're going to set solved equal to true. Now you can jump up here and change the values of these to make sure that you're getting the right output, whether solved is true or not. What we're going to do is just do one quick test run, and hopefully we'll get something that sounds relatively, Mr. Parks did it in the dining room with the knife. That makes sense because we'd be in the dining room, he would have the knife, and it would be Mr. Parks. And if all that's true, then we have solved the murder, and this would be the output. So with that in mind, let's submit the answer. And we got it right. Excellent work, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.